Guys, I'm back from my trip. I was away for 3 weeks. I've mentioned it in the videos again and again, but there were also a lot of disruptions, which is why I couldn't record as many videos, but now we're getting started again. That means daily or almost daily, a new video. I'll also be live tonight. Feel free to drop by. We'll go through my trading strategy, which I've shared with you. It works every time. The simplest trading strategy, and you're still not using it, almost 15,000 views already. In this case, I want to thank you so much, really. This thanks truly comes from the heart that you subscribe to my channel. And by the way, still one of the most exciting videos, 100% passive income on autopilot. In my last video from August 26th, which I uploaded, I created a trading bot live right here in this price range for Ethereum. And that's a long-oriented bot. And now take a look, the price has dropped in this case. Despite everything, this trading bot has now generated profits, and all of it fully automated. That was the one I started in the last video. This one has been running for quite a bit longer. We can also go through it together again today in a live video. Not only that, we'll also take a look at the running grid trading bots on Pionex, because that's a dollar cost averaging bot and it simply works like an extremely good vehicle. That's why you should definitely watch this video. It's super exciting. And for everyone who doesn't know the trading strategy yet, just go to the playlist, Learn Trading Step by Step to Profit Trader, and there you'll find what works so well. And that's why we're going to continue right away. Here we're taking a look at Bitcoin. Maybe a quick update on my last trade, which I shared with you. I re-entered here at the 0.786 Fibonacci level, then took partial profits in this price range and also set my stop loss to break even. I shared that with you and it was a good plan because my entry price was triggered afterwards. That means this setup is now over. Unfortunately, we didn't reach the top there, but I do have a new possible bullish setup. But we have, regarding the bullish setup, if we now look at the 15-minute and 1-hour charts, I'll show you in a moment what I mean. I'll show you in a moment how I will place my long trades for the new bullish setups and how I do this in detail. At the same time, however, we still have an overall possible bearish setup if we look here, just from this price action downwards. Because we'll start first with the small bearish setups, since I actually want to use the bullish ones at the moment, as we're making lower lows and lower highs here. That means it could actually bring us down a bit further again. But at the moment, I don't really believe that. Rather, I see at least short-term higher prices. Let's take a look at the even the 1 week liquidation heat map. There are massive liquidations above us. And if we also compare that with the liquidation map, we see that there are accumulated long liquidations of 800 million below us. But in comparison, there are short liquidations of 2.6 billion US dollars above us. But also these are only the high leverage positions that are shown here. These large clusters here, for example, at a price of 4,663. We also have another large cluster here at 4,100. These are only the ones at the current time, but it would rather suggest that we could be heading towards 4,500, 4,600. If we now look at the large orders, and for those who don't know, you have level 2 data inside here. How many orders have already been filled? How many orders are still waiting to be filled? And that's exactly what makes it super exciting to analyze. These are the whale orders and large trades. I also have a video on this topic here. You'll find it in the playlist as well. It's video number 3. With this tool, you're ahead of 99% of traders. Institutions use it, and it's actually the case that you get insight into orders here that you might not otherwise see on the market, at least not presented so visually. We can see here that the clustering of orders below us is enormous. Even if I now do an analysis just for today, in other words, down here is midnight, right? Here it's 12:30 a.m. and I analyze what has happened today so far, or rather what is still ahead of us. We have sell orders here. 774 million have been filled. We're only looking at the futures trades on Binance and buy orders totaling 317 million. At this point in time, it doesn't look all that great, of course, but what we have waiting below us, which could indicate strong support, is 1.29 billion in buy orders beneath us, compared to only 660 million in sell orders above us. This would of course mean that we have significantly more buy orders compared to the sell orders. These are current data, which can of course change at any time. So what is my trading plan now? Because actually Ethereum is kind of wobbling around right now, yes, moving up and down in this price range. And I would take advantage of that now on a smaller time frame, because when we look at larger time frames, we've already had a really great entry at 0.5 with a take profit reached. But the second thing we have now would be here, where we would currently find ourselves for a possible further short. Personally, I'm not taking this short right now because I want to wait and see what happens with the liquidations above us, which I just showed here. And that's why we're now moving to a smaller time frame for smaller trades, which I'm currently looking for myself. On the 1 hour chart, you can see that at least for now, we're trying to do something similar to another trade I already shared with you where we entered here. It worked out beautifully and we also hit the take profit. I'm now trying something similar here, but on a smaller time frame. For me, scenario 1 is what I unfortunately missed yesterday. I did look at it, but I'm really not a big fan of trading on Saturdays. It was basically that we broke through the last lower high to the upside with this candle, and I thought to myself, I don't know. Saturday, not much going on in the order book, low activity and manipulation is very high. I'd rather not take that risk, but it would have been a perfect trade. Again, with the 0.5 entry, take profit here at the 0, and that's exactly what happened now. Now I have another opportunity. Either we say we'll use exactly this low again and look for entries in this price range between 4370 and 4345, or as I usually do, after we've already played this out with the take profit, we use the last low to the current high and look for entries here at 4409 and 4493. In this case, even if we go down to the 15-minute chart now, it's a very interesting price range. And you see, I don't just blindly use this and go in and say, hey, 0.5, I make an entry. 0.618, I make an entry. No. What's really interesting here? We have, as you can see, this small volume cluster in the area, which was also very interesting here. And if I quickly mark this now using this tool here and say I take it exactly as it is and extend it upwards like this, then you can see that we had a rejection in this price range, then went back down, had another rejection, then consolidated again. And if I move this over now, and here there was even another rejection in this price range before exactly this price range, which had been rejected several times, was broken through to the upside with a really strong volume candle. What does that mean for me? That we now have an opportunity for long positions here, and I'm not even sure if the 0.5 level is really interesting. It could be, of course, because these are two price peaks here. I'll turn this off again now. Exactly this here, which I can extend right into here, that we had two price peaks here and might be able to use that, but we have the fair value gap from this candle, 15 minutes, two fair value gaps. One of them has already been closed, the second one not yet. Let's take a quick look at the hourly chart. And here we have this candle, yes, without having dipped in much, we have a fair value gap. That's why for me the 0.618 is still more interesting at this point in time. But maybe I'll risk that one too. That means I'm really not doing anything different than what I showed you. Watch the tutorial again. That's how my orders would be placed. One order like this and the second order would look like this with the take profit here. So if the first one hits the stop loss, it would make up for it. All of this is without investment advice. That's how I proceed, and that would be my trading plan. And if that doesn't hold, then I'll look at something else because we also have a CME gap in Ethereum. That doesn't mean we have to close it right away, that we have to say we're going down now and immediately filling the CME gap. No, absolutely not. We've seen this happen again and again lately. Here too, you can see we had a massive price bump, and that was on August 9th, and it wasn't filled until now. Actually, it was filled again on August 19th, which means this CME gap was only filled 10 days later. The same could happen now with the liquidation heat map above us, meaning we could really keep rising here and only come back to close it later. But what could also support the idea right now is maybe a wick down, and I want to be prepared for that. So if my first orders don't get filled, I can say I'll go exactly into the price range of 4,300. In this case, I now see it's 4,288 and below. Where is our CME gap? It's right at 4,320. And that would be another long order opportunity for me, which I might look for, where I'd say if we really test that level again, depending on where the liquidations are, then I'll try my luck here one last time with a small long entry. Otherwise, it will continue short. And then I would stick to holding short orders according to the strategy. But at the moment, I really like this small recovery, this little support right here. Now let's move on to Bitcoin before we wrap up the video. We're looking at Bitcoin right now, and unfortunately things didn't go quite as planned in the last video. So the 0.5 entry was triggered. They did go up a bit, yes, but then continued to drop. I want to go over the Fibonacci again with you on a cleaner chart. I want to show you something a little different here now. At this point in time, fortunately, we are currently holding at a larger volume support in this area here. If we zoom out a bit more, we can see that this is exactly the area where things start to get a bit stronger. But we mustn't forget that it could also go a bit further down. The strong volume support is even further below. At the moment though, and this really isn't pretty on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, we have ongoing price action, but we'll get to something positive in just a moment. The ongoing bearish price action unfortunately doesn't look so good because we're basically just making lower lows and lower highs the whole time, then a brief fake out to the downside, but essentially nothing else is happening except that we keep making lower lows and lower highs. At this point in time, as you can see, this exact key level that previously held, this green area right here, we have now fallen below it after the last support, and at the moment it is acting more as resistance. But what I personally still find very, very interesting is that we still have last week's CME gap open, and it has a price target of around 116,800 and a bit, which is where we could head. We still haven't closed it, not even come close to closing it. We only touched the support that is on the stock market opening day because this was our market opening. At the beginning, we dumped further, triggered the market opening again, and then continued downward. And that's why we still have the open CME gap. I know it doesn't always get filled, but in this case, let's compare it again. Where do we have massive liquidity on a weekly basis? Exactly 1 week ago, all of this was up to about 115,000 US dollars. Let's take a look at 2 weeks. I haven't checked that yet. And you can see that it even goes up to 117,500 US dollars. Where is our CME gap? It's at 116,902 US dollars where it would be closed. That's why for me, yes, I'm long. I don't know. Do I have that open somewhere? Right here. I'm currently building a long position here. It's being bought up more and more. Yes, I'm doing it similarly to those trading bots I showed you just manually, so I can decide myself where to take partial profits and where to take profits out. The position is currently just under 8,000 US dollars and is at a loss of $144. So actually everything is still within a safe range at this point. I'm opening this one. Of course, it's not reasonable to do it this way. For the next really nice long position, I would wait for a reversal signal. Just as I showed with Firm, I want to see that on a smaller time frame, we manage to make some lower highs to the downside, or that we then form a higher low afterwards. That means I want to see some price action movements like this, and then I'd be happy. So what could come out of this now? If Bitcoin truly does rise significantly and breaks through this crucial last high point here to the upside, then I know for myself with absolute certainty that this current level is indeed my definitive low. I look for where this high was, and in that case would attempt a new entry in these price areas here, depending on how it develops. This is now the smaller time frame. But if we take another look, I think it was the 4-hour chart, if we go back in there, we can see here that we actually have a very, very sharply falling price. But on the RSI, this sharply falling price is starting to rise gradually. And that's actually a positive sign now, so that we don't make a lower low on the RSI here. Which brings us to a bullish divergence on the 4-hour chart. And this could even result in a massively valid bullish divergence with the falling price. Because of this, yes, so that we have two possible long scenarios here, it doesn't mean that these are actually valid now, but a bullish divergence like the one we see here, yes, which has been tested several times, even if we only take this small one here, a rising RSI with a really sharply falling price. Is this already a valid bullish divergence? Of course, it could still get bigger, but with the CME gap, that means for me, I'm currently building a long position. If we take another look at this on the clean chart, so on the clear chart, and go into the 4-hour chart, we now have another possible scenario, because after this dip down here, if I apply the Fibonacci strategy again and adjust it to each of these new highs, we never managed to trigger the 0.5, or rather a 0.5 or 0.68. Only with the last high here did we finally manage it, and I'll zoom in again for that. And that's exactly what's exciting now. The first one didn't quite work out. So here you can see that's where I also went long and started to build up. We went down a second time, but you can clearly see just how valid the 0.68 is at this point in time. Please don't judge me if you go long here now and it doesn't work out. That's trading, of course that can happen, but overall for me, the 0.618 is once again a possible entry trigger. For me, I've already gone long several times, but this could be a possible sign of a reversal. But despite everything, don't forget our bearish price action, which we can see much more clearly on the 4-hour chart. It's really not looking good if we look at it like this. And that's why hopefully we'll find support right in this price area now, so that we don't end up seeing even lower prices. If we then look at the whale orders and I bring up the analysis here, you can see it there as well. If we now go into perpetual, meaning the futures trades, we can see for Bitcoin that as of now, which was from yesterday and today, we have filled 236 million in longs and 305 million in shorts. What worries me a little though is that even though it's good that we have 2 billion in long orders lying below us, we still have 1.61 billion in short orders lying above us. And that's obviously not so great, even if we can see here that the cluster of these yellow long orders looks much more massive here. Overall though, the orders here are clearly larger, the individual orders, than those that are accumulated here. And that still worries me a bit, at least when it comes to Bitcoin. Maybe they really want to push it down even further, but of course we'll see all of that tomorrow with the market openings. As I said, I'm still leaning more towards long here because of the bullish divergence and because of the CME gap. It's possible that my trade won't go through with these additional buy orders I've set up here, where I say I'm continuing to accumulate, but of course I'm willing to accept that. By the way, just to wrap up, you can see here that I sold XRP at the top. I've mentioned it repeatedly in the videos, take some profits off the table. We can also take a look at where I sold Ethereum. I sold multiple times at the price peaks each time, so I really got a good average selling price. Although I still believe that we will continue to rise, and the same goes for Bitcoin. As you can see, I sold once here at this top and then again down here. That means overall, I believe there's now an opportunity to buy Bitcoin at a discount. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave a like,